Hello, beautiful, lightful souls. Thanks so much to those of you who signed up for a healing with me or reading. It's such a pleasure to connect with you and to connect with you in spiritual community. Uplifting one another and seeing the highest possible good for one another is one of the most important things that we can do for the planet, seeing the highest possibility for ourselves and others. And my talk today is about empathy. But before I get there, I want to mention that I have been listening to a philosopher named Bernardo Kastrup, and I checked out his interview on Skeptico and a few other places. I do recommend him as a philosopher. He is someone who counters the materialist out there. And I had fun a couple of weeks ago making some shorts in response to agnostics and atheists because, hey, I was an agnostic, a borderline atheist before my near-death experience, and I work in academia. So there's this part of me that wants to have this conversation with people who are agnostic, mainly because the minute I had a near-death experience, I became a former agnostic, that the experience of energy outside of the body transformed my world. And I love how Bernardo Kastrup uses this one particular metaphor to explain this. So if you think of a river, and you think of this river having a whirlpool, and you see the individuality of that whirlpool. It has a beginning and end, and there's a specific location where that whirlpool is. However, it's water and it's a part of the river and it's a part of something greater. That's how our individuality is in this river of life. And when it comes to spirit inhabiting a body, it inhabits that whole realm outside of the body and a near-death experience. And that's the most fascinating part of it, is how can you be both an individual and connected to the all? And I think we have a lot of trouble with this idea of oneness here on planet Earth for a variety of reasons. But one reason is we don't want to be one with some people. And I'd like to put out there in a really loving, beautiful way. Imagine someone who has a different political belief from you, who has a different ideology, who basically stands for everything that you don't like in human beings. But then imagine this person deeply depressed and suicidal and suffering deeply and choosing suicide. Doesn't your whole opinion of that person's reality change when you realize the mental illness that someone has, or the struggles that someone has, or the great loss that someone has gone through? That the human journey is a profoundly disappointing and painful one. It's the spiritual journey that really adds the healing and the light. I'm not saying the human journey isn't full of great joy and bliss and ecstasy and amazing moments as well, but there is profound loss that each of us have been through or will go through in our lives. And to me, the comfort as a near-death experiencer is knowing that there is no wound on this earth, no trauma, from being in a war-torn country to rape, which I've been through, to great loss of all of your family members. There is no trauma, no pain that heaven can't heal, that light can't heal, because there is connection. There is knowing that we go on, that there is so much more than this. So I can't help but reach out to the agnostics, and I didn't do that to argue with anyone. I simply did it to add my bit of light into the world, my bit of humor and my bit of expression. I do know that it is love that is the great healer, but sometimes it's hard to put love into action. So one way to look at how to do this is to think of your energy as literally transforming the world. So you're not going to be called to work with everyone out there. There's some issues that are not for you to delve into, but you can imagine, as a sensitive person, as an intuitive person, that you are helping to transform the world. I also put out a short about how empaths need to step into positions of power and leadership. And that's going to be the great paradigm shift moving forward in our world. Because when you have an empathetic leader who understands many different viewpoints and who cares about people, uplifts people, understands where they are coming from, you have a great leader and you have great organizations. And I'm not even going to get into the spectrum of narcissism, but I'm just going to say that there's a lot of self-centeredness and individuality in our culture. And one of the ways, and that leads to a lot of pain and unhappiness for people. I really do have to emphasize that we can criticize it, but you also have to remember that people who are that way are in a lot of pain because there's so much joy in being connected to others and being in the flow of life. So empaths do have to be leaders because they will change and shift the paradigm. They may not want to be, but they need to be, in various ways, and really step out as sensitive people who are willing to make a change. And there can be great fear and great shock, and it's a process of unveiling one's gifts to the world, but it's an important process and it's needed. So just consider that in ways that you are comfortable doing this. Step out of your comfort zones if you're a highly sensitive person, because you may not be making a huge impact right away, but your energy is shifting things. You are a transformer of energy, and that's something that you do need to know. That you may not individually be working with people who trigger you, but the mere fact that you are stepping out, you're beginning to lighten that load on the planet of that darkness or that unconsciousness by stepping into your power. Another thing that I wanted to point out is that, this idea of oneness of when I was in my near-death experience, I saw that angels were working through surgeons. I saw that I was connected to energies beyond my body, that time was, not a concept that made sense in that place, that there was a great knowing all at once. And I realized that my little life was not just about my life. In fact, this great God, as I call the light, said that I had a mission to help others. That was my mission. And I think that's everybody's mission on some level, is to work in this world in a way that we know our lives are not just about our lives. It's not just about our bank account. It's not just about our popularity. It's not just about, do we have a partner or not? It's not just about our health. It's about everybody's health. It's about everybody's wellness. It's about everybody's connection to source, to healing, to a greater good. So it really is. One of the things Bernardo Castro mentioned is that when we think only about ourselves, that cuts us off from so much of the magic and joy of living. And, I can see this in numerous ways, but it's a practice. There's all kind of things you can read about deep listening or simply being there for others or volunteering. But I think it is one of the most important things to do, not from a place of, look at me, I'm doing this, or I hope I get a friendship or a relationship or something from this person, or just a hit, from that narcissistic, kind of supply, but really just to do good, without any hope of it coming back, simply because putting out that energy of goodness does make you feel better. It does connect you to the light. It does connect you to something greater than you. And that's what I would like people to remember. So if all of this is natural for you, just know you are really being called to step into positions of greater power and to really own your sensitivity in a beautiful way, and to think of yourself as transforming this world. And if you are afraid of doing that, take baby steps, but push your boundaries, push past where you have been in the past, because the only way to see if something is going to work is to try it. So maybe not everything is an immediate success, but it's worth a try. It's worth those steps into the next place that you want to be, which gives you more expression, more connection, more power, and more flow in your life. And ultimately, that is the place to be. So when I think about my near-death experience all these years later, one of the things I'm deeply, deeply grateful for is that I see spirituality as reality. Like, I don't see it as this concept of far away. I see it as intersecting my life, and that's where the great joy often comes into my life, is when I see, oh, this prayer or this healing shifted this real thing, or this insight helped this person, or this moment helped me better understand what is going on in reality. That when spirituality is connected to reality, there's a whole lot more depth to living. So sometimes people who I talk to want more insight or want their intuition to be clearer. And one of the easiest ways to do this is to just basically ask for verifiable details for your intuition each time you open up more, because I believe that's how we know we're on the right track, is when we have those intersections of insight and then reality unfolding. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed this talk, and may you be blessed, and may you unfold and transform this world.